A warm welcome to Anuradha Vedic Astrology. Today we are going to talk about the sign of Aquarius. How does the sign of Aquarius relate to for us in our kundali? Because it does not mean that just because we do not have the Aquarius Lagna, it does not function for us. We may have a planet there, and even if we do not have a planet there, it is associated with a certain house for us. It could be the third house, it could be the fifth house, it could be the eighth house, any house for us, and it will give very strong results for us. Before we begin, a big thanks to all of you for liking, sharing and subscribing to our YouTube and Spotify channels and writing in your comments and suggestions there. If you haven't subscribed to us, please do, and do remember to press the bell icon so that we can give you the updates ASAP. Aquarius, the sign is a very mysterious sign. Most of us take it to be a water sign. Why so? Because the symbol itself is the water bearer, and we see a big vessel, which in Hindi is also known as the Kumbh or the pot, and that is why we say that it's the Kumbh rashi. But it is essentially an air sign. So, with the air-water modality that we see here, we find that it is mysterious indeed. This is the sign where it's very difficult to understand whether they have the resources, whether they do not have the resources. Are they capable of doing what they set out to do, and how so? Because when we look at the pot, at the first instance, it is very difficult to analyze how full the pot is or how empty that the pot is. It is on further inquiry, on further analysis only we can understand the real picture about the pot. So, the sign holds a lot of mystery in itself. Again, there are two owners of this sign. The two owners are Saturn and Rahu. So, you will find people who have a very strong Aquarius showing a very dual nature. One that pertains to Saturn, which is very timely, which is very disciplined, one which has its own limitations, one that has very strong administrative abilities, one that has a very fixed and narrow path per se, and they will not like to experiment more. They are very strong in their work, they are very timely to say, and very traditional in many matters. On the other hand, this is also ruled by Rahu, and where we talk about Rahu, Rahu is that planet that tells us that this is I am constantly evolving, I like newness, I am not very much into tradition. And Rahu also keeps telling us or making us think that one needs to look out of the box, one needs to think out of the box, one needs to experiment to grow. So, you will find people who are having any other planet here, or for that matter the houses. If somebody has it in the second house, their education could be out of box. They could want to experiment. They could, if it's a very intelligent sign, and if it is falling in the second house, it means that the person has the capacity to learn lots more than what you and I can even imagine. Why? Because again, it's the mysterious Kumbh, and they could go and learn subjects as diverse as physics and economics, and can be very well be at ease with. They can be, second house is your house of talking, and I have also known people who can actually talk on many diverse subjects because they have the knowledge for it. They have a Capricorn Lagna, and the sign there sitting in the second house is Kumbh, which is again mysterious, which is vast, and airy sign gives you an ability to talk better. Again, when you give a public platform to a Sagittarius, they generally don't like to talk much in public, but when they are asked to speak on a public platform, they can make a very strong impression, and one would be amazed at the kind of knowledge they have, because their oratory skills would be very high, and more so their knowledge about things can be very mysterious. When they start speaking, it is only then that we understand and realize the depth of their knowledge. Sometimes when it's afflicted, the third house is afflicted, then we can also imagine and understand the depth of their shallowness. So yes, two very contradictory terms, but we would be able to understand that. Now let's move on to we've talked about the symbol, we have talked about the co-owners. Again, if there is a planet sitting there, the planet matters, as is the house. I just told you how the house would matter. Make it the 5th house for somebody, or rather I'll give an example of Narendra Modi ji, where it is the 4th house for him. So the 4th house talks about mother and motherland. Again, as I told you, it's also the sign being ruled by Rahu. It talks about future, it talks about inventions, it talks about ingenuity, it talks about your geniusness. And where would a person reflect that? It would reflect in that sign of Aquarius, whichever house it possesses. For somebody, if it's possessing the 6th house, you would show it all in your hard work, in your labor. Your ingenuity will come out in when you are doing your labor, or how to counter your opponents, your competitors. Again, for somebody, if it's their 8th house, these people, or the 9th house, these people are very good with inventions, because 8th house is the house of discoveries, and the 8th lord, obviously depending on where it is sitting, would be helping you in doing a lot of discoveries and making a lot of invention. So futuristic inventions with the Cancer Lagna is very much possible, because the sign here in the 8th house is that of the Aquarius sign. When we talk about the non-traditional nature of the Gemini Lagna or the sign of Gemini, it's because the 9th from it is the sign of Aquarius, where they are not very futuristic, especially if they have a very, they are not very traditional, especially if they have Rahu influencing their Lagna or their Lagna Lord very strongly. So this is how we understand how Aquarius is able to give us a very strong result. Now, as I was talking about Modi ji's chart, you see that in Modi ji's case, it's the 4th house. So where is it that the person would want to be very strong on emotions, yet be very futuristic about that? 4th house is emotions, we understand that. But because it's the air sign and it is also the sign of Aquarius and Rahu, one may not be very emotional there, but one would be wanting to take that 4th house to a very futuristic level, as we see in Modi ji's case, and also the person would have very strong vision, very strong eyesight for adapting things which will enhance a person's capabilities in the future. We see all these happening in his chart. And if you notice that he also has a retrograde Jupiter, the 5th lord of crisis management, sitting in the 4th house. The 5th lord, the 2nd lord of money and speech, which is sitting in the 4th house of Aquarius. So all the things about, making GPay and payment portals and all these abilities, these GST issues, and we also have his ability to look into the crisis in a way that they address your future rather than just moving into the now only. He has a foresight and he has a vision about his motherland, where he wants to put it. So it's all because of that Aquarius acting as the 4th house, and the crisis manager, the speech manager, the wealth manager, all sitting there, Guru sitting there in the sign of Aquarius. This is how you read a chart practically, because you have to take what the sign says, you have to see which planet is sitting there, you have to see which house the planet owns, and then we will be able to do a very strong practical reading of not just a house but the entire chart. Let us take B.V. Ramanji's chart. In B.V. Ramanji's chart, it is his Lagna which is there on Aquarius. And it makes him a very strong, very thoughtful person, a person who is very much inclined to have visions about things that others don't have. They can be these people also like to do a lot of astral travel, if I can say so. So if you know a yogi, or if you know a person who is very much into sadhana and all, it's very safe to say that they do astral travel, especially if this house of Aquarius, the sign of Aquarius, is related to their 5th, 8th or 12th signs. Now, when we are talking about B.V. Ramanji's signs, he was the first person to write books in English rather than the local language in astrology, and get the science of astrology out in open. Till the time he started writing in English, it was very much confined to a very few small society of the Brahmins. But he was the one who took it not just out for the Indians, but he also took it abroad, and that is why Vedic astrology found a calling all over. In that, we can also add that this is a sign which allows a lot of sharing also. It is the sign that is futuristic, but this is also a sign which is democratic in its abilities. It allows person to share openly their views. Again, I would repeat, they know how to give the right amount of it. They can understand who is deserving and who is not, and that is how they exert or extend themselves. So, we can read a chart very well if we understand the basics, and for today the basic was the Kumbh Rashi or the Aquarius. Till we meet with you again, stay safe. Thank you.
Please hit the bell icon for fresh updates. Don't forget to like, share and comment on the videos, and please subscribe to our channel.